Hello, and welcome to another episode of Madness and Mayhem. So, first up, apologies for last week. I was really quite poorly, and I actually slept like a lot. I kind of was quite ill on Sunday, and then just pretty much slept. didn't move, did nothing. So there's no way I was going to be able to kind of do a show, and I actually didn't even have the energy to kind of like check in with everyone until Tuesday. So I had like massively high temperature on Sunday, like flu stuff, and I just couldn't be asked. So my apologies for being a human and a little bit flaky. But we are episode 43, so I've been here pretty consistently. The odd day of just it not working. So on to today. That's episode 35. I was like, wait a minute, that's not what we're talking about. So today we are talking about Epstein, kind of, because there's just been loads more stuff, but we're going to talk about some things that people seem to just keep forgetting. It keeps driving me crackers that everybody forgets stuff. We're also going to be covering, the UK being owned by China again, the Board of Peace, Iran strike team, and then outsmarting the freedom illusion. So a few different things, but we'll start with Epstein. So, and it's the PsyOp, right? So we have to remember that 2020, just before the election, there was like over 1 million documents that randomly appeared that went to the FBI's office, right? So randomly appeared. And then we also have to remember that the baddies were in control of the FBI for 4 years while Trump wasn't there, right? So pretty obvious that lots of things that were probably very important have probably gone AWOL. And then chances are those 1 million documents are kind of like, Russia hoax style fake. A bill was passed to say that everything Jeffrey Epstein, kind of Epstein list, all of that, everything has to be released, regardless of whether it's good, fake, relevant, which is why there's tranche after tranche after tranche after tranche, right? So when we hear Trump saying it's a Democrat hoax, that's what he's talking about, right? And this has been catalogued, not just Trump saying it. This has been catalogued over like the last 5 years. And I genuinely can't believe how everybody's got a freaking amnesia over the fact that Biden, which was Obama, was in office for like 4 years with the FBI going after like random mums and dads for posting stuff on the internet. So it's not to say that there is not stuff in there, but we have to be mindful there will be loads of fake shit in there too. And this is not a unique tactic to the whole Epstein stuff. This is what they do. So I want you to kind of think about one of the sensationalized stories, right? Which is Bill Gates having to go to Epstein to get antibiotics. I can't believe that I'm perhaps the only person who thinks that's completely ludicrous. Why would Bill Gates need to go to Epstein to get antibiotics when he is a multimillionaire, owns a medically pharmaceutically based foundation, can release fucking mosquitoes that are destroying malaria and injecting people with horrific things, but he can't get hold of any antibiotics on his own without going to Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, I just think that sounds ludicrous. So it's also important to kind of put it into context how they massively and very quickly rolled out AI. But I mean, not just with the fact that, we get access to AI, but with regards to deep fakes, videos, compared to where we were, like in 2020, right? In 2020, like AI kind of existed on the fringe. Like I didn't start using it until maybe a couple of years ago. I'm not always an early adopter. That's not what I'm saying. But like the actual members of the public didn't really start embracing it until the last couple of years. So how weird it all got rolled out really fucking quickly in advance of perhaps the release of the Epstein files, right? So now how do we know what's fake, what's not fake? Bearing in mind, they will have had like this technology for decades, but now it's being rolled out to us. Right? So who remembers the Biden inauguration, which was all fake? Who remembers loads of the stuff the BBC's done where you look at the audience and it's the same like 20 people replicated over and over and over and over again? So that's fake, right? We have weathermen pretending they're getting fucking like they're in these storms and there's like random people walking behind them. We have like, so there is so much fakery and fuckery afoot. There is no way they're just going to allow the Epstein files to be rolled out, to be accurate, and to enable people to get rolled up, right? So what they do is they purposely plant things that are misleading. Or it's not misleading, sorry. They purposely plant things which can be proven to be false. And then what happens? Everybody focuses on that one thing, and then the entire stuff gets ignored, right? So they did that with in the UK with the kind of around the elite pedophiles, the Jimmy Savile, those operations by the media found this guy called Nick, which was Carl Beach, who had been abused, but also was an abuser. Right. And he was very mentally unstable. So they completely ignored all of the other victims. Everybody focused on this Nick, so Carl Beach, and then they discredited him and then they discredited everything else. Right. They did it with Pizzagate. They only focused on the basement. Right. Despite the fact that there was evidence and tweets and information which actually categorically proved there was a basement, but then it got filled in. And so all they did was focus on everybody says it happens in the basement and there is no basement. Therefore, Pizzagate doesn't exist. And let's not remember the person who debunked Pizzagate then got sent down for being a paedophile. So this is what they do. And I think they will be, so Trump and Elon will be the two people who push back against the shit in the Epstein files, because that will be the fake shit they've thrown in there. And then everybody will be like, well, obviously on the left, they'll be saying, well, they're just saying it's fake, but it's not. Even we don't know whether it is, whether it isn't. And then when we find and see the stuff about, if Trump's was fake, so was Bill Clinton's, so was Obama's, so was all the stuff that's going to ensnare the British royal family outside of Andrew Mountbatten. Like, this is just what they do. So all of the people who are going, oh my God, look, this is the proof. This is the proof. Like, how do you know it's the proof? Like, just because it's in that file doesn't mean it's proof. Doesn't mean it's evidence at all. Like, the US agencies have come out and said not all of it's true. It's the law says we have to release it. It doesn't, like, it's not all true. And people lie, people make stuff up, people plot, people like I genuinely am so confused by the just because it's in this trance of information, people thinking it's like gospel. Right? That's it. It's there. Evidence. And people focusing on the evidence that they want to see, right? So there's the George Bush stuff about sacrifice. I was like, right, that's it. That's proof. Look, well, we know they're doing it, but that doesn't mean that piece of information is the proof. Because how did everybody find that? Really fucking quickly. How did that then get reported over the media? Because the truth usually gets buried in the mainstream media. So all of these sensationalized stories that are being picked up by the mainstream media has me thinking, oh, is this what they're going to do? Are these the stories they're planting to make everybody look like a fucking nutter? Very probably. And a repeat statement with regards to the fact that everybody's calling and getting angry about the stuff they haven't released. He was part of a group of individuals who are raping, murdering, torturing young people, boys and girls, for shits and giggles, experimenting on people for shits and giggles. So I want you to have in your head Nazi-style experiments plus satanic ritual abuse being recorded. I am grateful that they have not put that information out there. I do not think that information should be out there. Why do I think that? Because I care about the victims and the families of the victims. Imagine being a parent and your child's been missing for maybe a decade, 15 years. And all of a sudden you see a video circulating on the internet. And now you know what happened to your child. And everyone said, oh, blur out the faces. But what if they've got a unique birthmark? Imagine finding out and seeing it, right? This is why I have so much respect for the families that rock up to the court cases where their children have been brutalized because they have to witness it. I don't understand why everybody's been saying we need the files. I mean, the vast majority of people are saying they need the files because they want arrests. We need the information so the victims get justice. The only thing I should be advocating for is the victims get justice. And that does not include having their most horrific experiences permanently be displayed on the internet. Because when something's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. And how many sick fucks will then take that information and then use it to get their rocks off, right? This is it is the most disgusting thing. People calling for the abuse style images and videos to come out. And if you want to know the shit that goes on, then I urge you to go and read the transcripts of the UK grooming gangs and the victims from those grooming gangs. If you want to know how sick these people are, and then that's the shit you want to be put on like normal internet for children to randomly come across. And yes, they can like redact, right? You redact the person, right? It's easy to put it back in. But somebody with skills would be able to fix that and put it back. There's an image of Andrew with a, over a corpse, over somebody who's fainted. Like, we don't know, right? There are people calling for that image to be redacted. Why? What do we, the public, gain from finding out who is being abused, tortured, murdered at that point in time? The only people who should know who that is the law enforcement. I don't understand it. Like, tell me if you think I'm being crazy here, but I just don't understand why people are so obsessed with finding out who has been abused, not who deserves to go to prison for doing the abuse. Also, the random fucking memes that coming out saying the only people in the Epstein files are fucking white Christians, like the Qatari fucking royal family are in there. Fucking Eid Mubarak was like besties with Jeffrey. Like Mandelson's not a fucking Christian. So we've got Muslims in there, Jewish people in there, white people, black people. Jay-Z's not a fucking Christian. Like, come on. Making it like it has been done at the exact same time. Tensions are fucking hotting up in Iran, over Iran. Tensions are hotting up between the UK, the USA, China, Russia, and Iran. Like, this is like the biggest fucking distraction from all the shit that the governments are doing behind the scenes. In particular, the UK fucking government, which is literally pulling us back into the EU. Like, and everybody's obsessed with like wanting to know who was being abused. Like, it's sick. So I did have a little look, but I had a little look for some other reasons. So obviously the whole Richard Branson stuff is coming out, and the number of times they were talking about jumping, like helicoptering from one island to the other. You know, the Russian girls like not having UK visas and all of that shit. Fine. The reason why I was looking is because Tor posted, you know, has anybody found anything about the grooming gangs in there? I was like, oh fuck, now I need to go and look. I spent like 5 hours keyword searching. Could I find anything? No. Does that mean it's not there? No. I have zero idea where even to fucking start. The only things, I mean, I looked for stuff about like there's no mention of any of the names, like, you know, Rotherham, Telford, Rochdale, Oldham, like no mention of like Sadiq Khan. So I was just like, you know, for London, no mention of like, well, I forgot to look for Andy Burnham, but I was just like, I don't even know where to fucking start. And Grok was no use at all. I was like, oh well, it's not in there, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not fucking helpful because I'm trying to find stuff. So we also have to remember when it comes to the grooming gangs, like they started the whole raping and pillaging of little white girls by Pakistanis and Somalis. There was around 20 Somali gang in Bristol that were arrested in the UK a few years ago. So the Somalis do the same thing. So it's a religion and it's a cultural thing to certain areas, right? So Somalis aren't just fraudsters. And this is why I urge you in America. Oh yeah, so I was on a podcast show. It wouldn't have been this weekend, the weekend before. And I just kind of like mentioned, I was like, you guys have got like a Somali problem. You need to get on that. And the response was, well, we've got guns, so it wouldn't happen. And I was like, you have 300,000 kids go missing under Biden. Like, that shit does happen. And by assuming that America has like guns means that shit isn't happening, it means it's probably you just won't notice, right? Like Epstein was fucking trafficking people in and out of America, in America and in and out of America, right? I'm just saying, like fucking Franklin scandal. You know, those milk carton kids were little boys and that were being fucking moved, trafficked, and raped. there's a history of like abuse and abuse rings. There's the Texan Uncle Sam's snuff factory that's on an army base in Texas. Like that shit's happening, and I've said this for decades that it will not just be in the UK. Maybe the scale's different. I don't know. But it will not just be happening in the UK. I think the thing about the United Kingdom is we are so fucking tiny. Like, we are, like, small. So, it may be happening in certain states, bearing in mind even your states are fucking, like, I don't know, 20 times bigger than the UK. Like, we are, like, genuinely, like, we are fucking tiny. So, it's really obvious, like, what's going on. Like, when you talk about, like, a little town, like, the towns you don't have to, like, drive around the town. So I watch quite a few of these, Americans in the UK on Instagram, and they're all like, you can just walk everywhere. Like, you can go from one end of the country to the other end of the country in less than 24 hours. It's tiny. It's fucking full, right? It's full. It's tiny and it's full. But I think the uniqueness is not in the gangs, and the rape gangs and the abuse and the torture and the murder. It is the fact that we are small, and therefore it is easier for us to kind of have conversations and recognize things that's going on. And we have really small communities. So your small communities in America, maybe it's unlikely to happen because you don't have the infiltration, right? So we have Birmingham. I remember I mentioned this. There's like one place in Birmingham which is 94% Pakistani from the Mirpur region. Our fucking Home Secretary's from Mirpur, so that's not getting they're not getting investigated, right? But if anybody's got any fucking ideas about what to search in the Epstein files to find out the crossroads with the grooming gangs, I mean, this is what I mean. So I went right back. So it's been starting since the 50s and 60s, right? Since we kind of like fucking brought the bastards all over. I was looking for like Elm Guest House, Ted Heath. Like I was doing like, okay, so there must be some crossover with Jimmy Savile, and I found some kind of like random stuff about Jimmy Savile, who was in America quite a bit. Interesting. So he's obviously globe trotting and hopping with young kiddie winkies. I was looking at Mountbatten. Like I was just like pulling all like Kincora Guest House, like anything that I could think of about like elite paedophile rings. Because if you read some of the transcripts and listen to some of the victims of the later years stuff, they are saying they were trafficked to like judges, police officers, school head teachers. We had the satanic ritual abuse investigations in the like late 80s and 90s in Surrey. So I was searching for Surrey. Like I literally exhausted anything I could think of, and I couldn't find any information. So I know that Tori only asks for stuff that she knows the answer to. So like a little bit of a clue would have been helpful, but maybe you can think of something. So but yeah, so you can go hunt, but there's like, what is it, like just over 3 million, like it's just a fucking minefield, and lots of it will just be kind of shit. Like John Wedger's in there, not in a bad way. There was somebody from the UK who was kind of like emailing the FBI, kind of like saying, you need to speak to John Wedger, you need to speak to here's the Thames Valley police chief statement. Like Jimmy Savile like was linked into Robert Maxwell, who is obviously kind of linked into Ghislaine, and like, so I found like these kind of email chains with like most of the links that they put down with regards to the FOI requests of all the links are kind of like dead. So I found I found like quite a bit of stuff, but none of it was helpful. But if you do want to kind of like look into, like, John Wedger seems like a goodish guy. I'm kind of like, and ah. I've heard some of the stuff that he said that's quite good, and then other stuff I've gone, seems a bit odd. But he doesn't get the attention that people such as Maggie Oliver get. There was also another police lady whistleblower who definitely doesn't get the same attention as Maggie Oliver. But then, you know, she also didn't set up a foundation and hire a paedophile as a number two and start harassing the victims and would she get like MBE or whatever badges, you know, knighted badges, those things. So I don't know what's going on, but we do have to bear in mind, we do have to kind of stay open-minded about the stuff that surfaces. What I think will play out is the media will sensationalize the stuff that they are supposed to be sensationalizing, and then the baddies will be able to go, well, you know, he said this on this day, this is clearly faked because of XYZ, blah 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 blah. Right, that's what I reckon's coming. Do I think there will be arrests? No, not from the files. No, because if you've got an active investigation, you don't release it. I think that's how you sink and investigate. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if I was investigate somebody, I'm not going to tell them about the evidence I have on them. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you do when you go to trial, right? Because you have discovery. But up until that point, like, you wouldn't even know if you were being like investigated for something until you get arrested. Like, it's just retarded. So I have done a petition about prescribing the Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist organization in the UK. So I'm pretty sure I've signed one like this a couple of times before, but it still obviously hasn't happened. We need it doing. We need it doing in the UK. So let's just see. It took them 8 weeks to respond to me last time, and then they were like, to my last petition, they're like, oh no, we're not doing that one. I don't think about none of my petitions have ever gone through, ever. But they still have to keep them on file, right? And they have to give me a reason why. So I don't see why this won't pass now, because in October, November time, Keir Starmer was saying it's very likely, right? Very likely they would be prescribed. Now, this will fuck everything up because Hamas is like Muslim Brotherhood's like army. There's the Houthis in Yemeni. Like, they're all fucking linked, and all the Qatari money. Like, this would be a big win if we get that done. You got the imams collecting like tens of thousands across all the mosques, which is all getting funneled back, right? So like the Muslim Brotherhood being prescribed as a terrorist organization would be a huge win for us in the UK. So I don't think they're going to allow it, or they'll allow it and then they'll just do some kind of like bullshit debate, which they normally do, right? Bullshit debate. If we get 100,000 signatures, but it's fine even if they bullshit it because it's on record. So just a little heads up with the UK. So obviously we're now bought by China properly because now we have the embassy. Starmer's just been over there and he has been hobnobbing it with Xi, decreasing tax on whiskey, He's been, helping the Chinese electric vehicle companies by releasing more money, pushing the UK us lot to have electric vehicles, of which China's like the biggest like maker. China's also supposed to be helping us stop the small boats because the vast majority of the engines are made in China. So I don't know how China's supposed to do that, right? The fucking dinghy hoppers. We've had China, almost bought Canada, and then Trump did 100% tariff and said, get fucked. But there's lots of kind of really weird shit going on with regards to the UK and China. And then Starmer literally went from China to Japan and then said, like, UK and Japan are now besties, right? Japan and China aren't friends at the minute at all. It's just like there's so much weird shit happening, like super weird shit. It's super weird. We also, in case you missed the news, we also have a convicted terrorist running for council in Birmingham. Birmingham, our second city, which is 100% owned by the Muslim community. So Shahid Butt is a 60-year-old convicted Yemeni terrorist. He was convicted in 1999 for wanting to bomb British consulate and being part of a kidnap plot of Westerners where 4 people were killed. He's standing as an independent, but that is somebody who is now running for the council. I mean, he's in good stead with the fucking, like, Manchester Mafia, the Oldham. Like, the Oldham's got, like, criminals and jihadis and that on it. London. Don't know much about London, but probably psychopaths. I mean, Telford, we've got our own fucking... yeah. Oh, because I was ill. Did I tell you the results of my... Wait a minute, where did I go? No. So I did go to the council meeting, the full council meeting, and that only happens like once every quarter. So that's a bit shitty. So it took me ages to be... And this is really dodgy, right? So let's just do the Telford Council drama. So it took me ages to actually get any acknowledgement. Like, it took 3 weeks for them to acknowledge me. And I know it was Christmas, but actually they broke up like 2 weeks after I first submitted my request. And then there's the Christmas period, and then they got back to me. And so what I was, and so when I emailed the day of the debate. No, I emailed 2 weeks before the debate, right? They replied to me the day of the debate when, like, the day that the Keir Starmer kind of fucking U-turned. So I was asking for Telford Council on the back of the 3 million strong petition to denounce pretty much mandatory digital ID, right? Because of the 10 to 15% of the borough who have no access, right? And I wanted to make sure that there was always an opportunity for somebody who didn't want it, right? So we live in a fucking democracy. You should have a choice. And so finally I got a yes. I can talk about it on the day that the government said, oh, it's not going to be mandatory anymore. But they haven't said it's not going to be mandatory anymore. They just said, like, a lot of it's not going to be mandatory. They're still saying it's going to be mandatory for work. So when I kind of put my question, they said it was okay. And they said on their website that I get 2 minutes to kind of talk about it, right? So this is why I want it. So I got there and the lady was like, oh, you're with the question. And I'm thinking, like, that it's like, there must be more than just one fucking question. This is like a full council meeting. People are really pissed off with the council, right? I said, no, I was the only one. And I don't think anyone has been and asked a question to the full council meeting for a very long time because everybody was fucking shocked. and I made our local paper. Right? I was like, what the fuck? So when I turned up, they didn't even know what to do with me. Right? I walked in, there was like 4 security guards, and I was like, there's no sign telling you where the full council meeting is. Right? There's no like in the Southwater Council building. There's no sign telling you where to go. So I was like fucking wandering around like a dickhead. One of the security guards said, "Are you okay?" And I said, well, "I'm trying to go to the full council meeting. I've got a question." He's like, "Oh, you're the speaker." And I was like, "I'm not a speaker." I was like, "What the fuck?" I said, "No, I've got a question." And he's like, "Oh yeah. No, it's okay. We've been expecting you." And I was just like, "This is like, like this is a bit fucking excessive. I just want to ask a question." So then I went, and then I was handed off to I was handed off to a lady, and she said, "Right, okay, so you ask your question. I will get you the microphone." And I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm only allowed to ask the question that I've already submitted. I'm not allowed to say anything else." And she said, No, you just ask your question." I was like, "Okay." And at this point, I still hadn't kind of clicked that I was the only person asking something. I was kind of hoping that would there be other people and I could kind of see what happened, and I could go like, oh, because I had a 2-minute speech prepared, like why I want this doing, and I was going to list the things that because obviously it's still mandatory for work. That's what the government's pushing. It's still mandatory for work, and I was going to come with the evidence that the Home Office is telling everybody that they've rounded up and ejected, and it was like 3 days before the council meeting, 114 people who had no right to work in the UK were rounded up and removed. Like these are from like Turkish bars and nail bars and stuff like that, right? And then before Christmas, there was 54 people. They did the exact same thing. So I was just like, they're saying it's mandatory, but they're already fucking using the laws, doing the things, right? So I had like a whole like spiel. And so I was like, oh shit, like I'm the only one doing it. And the ladies that like the website says I get 2 minutes. The lady's saying I can just read the question. Like, and these people fucking hate me. So I don't want to be in the spotlight more than they have to be in the spotlight. I don't need my house firebombing. And they do that. Right? They destroy businesses. Like they literally block you from having contracts. Like this is like why like I went bankrupt. The first business, like they kind of like they stop you existing as a human. Like just rampant abuse, right? Anyway, so I was just like, well, I'm gonna fucking do it. Let's do it. You can do it. Like, maybe some time has passed because it has been like 8 years now. Maybe they've forgotten me. No, they haven't. I could just say, like, I rocked up, and funnily enough, when I did rock up, the two people, two of the family members that are on Oakengates Parish Council, which is where I was, who really don't like me, was stood outside, and I was kind of like waiting, like going, oh fuck. And so they're like fucking daggers, right? And I was just like grinning away, going, yeah. But obviously everybody knew I had a question because it gets circulated, right? I didn't find this out. Like I was just like they're not even getting put on the fucking spot. Anyway, so I asked my question. And then when I sat down, because I kind of like asked it and then sat down, I then saw that there was the fucking 2-minute timer. And I was like, I sat down now. So I look like a right fucking dick if I stand up again, right? So I was like, oh, shit, I'm committed. It's fine. But what then happened was the leader of the council said that they unilaterally stand against any mandatory digital ID. So what's really interesting is the Labour Health Council in Telford have now gone against the Labour Party. And I don't think they fucking realised, because they didn't do their due diligence, right? They didn't even just fucking look, because they would just spent the whole time fucking bigging it up. It was never meant to be mandatory. The idea was just floated. It wasn't set in stone. And we will set, and I was just like, I was literally sat there going, oh my God, did they just say like on the record that they are like completely against it and gonna like put measures in place that it does not happen, that's gonna be fucking interesting. No, it's like they're going, oh, I don't think they realize what they just fucking said in their official statement. So that was fun. So my next question will be, hopefully, on the back of the petition we've just done, or the one I'm going to do next, any of them, but I got to figure out, so because you got to be really careful, like, so the way out, they don't have authority over everything, but they can put the pressure on the government. But because it's coming from me, what I got first time round was like, oh, they don't have control over that. So I had to do like some haggling and wrangling, right, for my question. Initially, they kind of said no, and then they kind of go back, but you can tweak it, right? And I was just like, okay, well, I will tweak it, but you're kind of leaving out the really important thing. But if you are in the UK, like, I urge you, just submit a fucking question. Like, do it. And then maybe like have a conversation. Do I get to speak, or do I just read the, like, I mean, that's what I'm going to do next time. I'm going to clarify. So my plan is to do a question at every council meeting. And I would love it if Telfer people kind of like join me. Because I mean, I almost fell asleep at the council meeting. It was so fucking boring. It's the same boring shit that when I was at the parish. They just spend their whole time, like the Labour councillors, because of the 14 years of Tory cuts. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ugh. And then the fucking Conservative councillors, well, the Labour, you're just like, we don't need to hear that shit. We don't need to hear that shit. Like, just say, this is what we propose to do. Like, but actually, the full council meeting isn't about anything, that it's just them all kind of agreeing on the things that they've decided at the scrutiny committee and at the committees, right? So all the decisions have already been made by the time they get to the full council meeting, which is why it was just fucking palaver. And now they've decided it's only 2 hours long, right? They've decided it can only be 2 hours long, which is why we need to go and force questioners, because then they can't make any fucking decisions, and they might have to reverse this 2 hour thing, because I thought it was quite funny. But supposedly all of the other meetings that the council do are public. I never see any of them advertised, right? Ever. And it took me ages to find out when the actual day was. So it's not easy to navigate this shit. I don't know anybody who's got time to fucking go and sit in all the council meetings. Because they said they were on their website. They said they were on the website and or on their YouTube channel, and they weren't. Because I was looking for previous ones and they weren't there. So that's a bit bullshit. But wherever you are, I urge you to go and ask a question. Get your council doing shit. Start them realizing we're paying attention to them. Make them work for you. And you may end up with some retards who aren't even paying attention to what's going on. And then you get more than you wanted, right? More than you bargained for. So we've got Oxford's now kind of like putting in their 15 minutes tea, and it didn't matter that everybody said we're not doing that, right? So I need to vote those fuckers out. Okay. So we're going to move into talking about Iran and the Board of Peace. So kind of like a bit, right? So these are still kind of evolving, like still. But I think it's important we kind of like touch on Iran, because it's going to get a bit hot over there. So where we are at the moment, so we had China sent 20 airplanes. We got the UK and USA kind of like getting a bit spicy. So Trump's deployed a significant, naval fleet, including the USS Abraham Lincoln strike group. Now, supposedly, Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt are kind of like, they're in the background trying to mediate talks. They don't want things to escalate. I saw an image circulating on social media. It doesn't mean it's true. So an image showing that the area that Trump bombed has been rebuilt. Now, I was under the impression they're like fucking craters in the ground, and this image kind of looked like it was. It looks like it's just been like, oh, they've just kind of like drawn a Lego brick type thing on top. So I'm going to suggest that's probably faked, but China's kind of been over there trying to get them back up and running again, right? So the UK's put sanctions on them. We have closed the embassy in Tehran. The EU has prescribed the IRG as a terrorist organization. The UK is talking about it. Despite that, we had like fucking IRG sympathizers protesting over the weekend, so nobody gives a shit about that anyway. The police definitely don't, because they're tweeting all the right things. Calamini, I don't even know that's really how you say his name, but I don't really care. The Butcher of Tehran, as he was called, said that if the USA attack, there will be just war. Right, that's it. The president of Iran has kind of called for unity and kind of like de-escalation. So I don't quite know what's going on there. We obviously have Mossad, CIA, Iranian intelligence service, UK intelligence service, Russian intelligence service, Pakistani intelligence service, Chinese CCP intelligence, all on the ground, in and amongst the protesters, doing the things that they need to do to get whatever agenda done, and co-opting the actual people who are trying to free themselves. So anybody who's just saying it's a Mossad, CIA, like they're all there, they're all at it, but it wasn't started by them, because it's been going for years and years and years and years, and we've been watching it. So get back in your fucking boxes, all these random influencers who haven't been paying attention. So the other thing that's kind of gone on is Iran, Russia, and China have signed a tripartite agreement. So Iran and China have signed a 25-year, Iran and Russia have signed a 20-year agreement. And this was all done on the 29th of January, so only a few days ago. So they are getting tighter. Iran's pulled out of BRICS. So this is really like, there's like there's like multiple things happening at the same time that don't actually align. It's really fucking weird. So the emphasis on the tripartite agreement is intelligence sharing, which is pretty fucking scary, because China's all up in the UK government's fucking, Starmer's just fucking bummed somebody over there and he just given him it. But so China's all up in our fucking cyber stuff, and it's so retarded. They're like, Russia's the threat, and I'm like, you're not paying attention to the fact that Russia and China are like besties at the moment. Like, China's like our best mate, but they're like besties with Russia and Iran, who are supposed to be our enemy. It's so like retarded is the only way to describe it. They together, right, Russia, Iran, and China are planning naval drills in the Sea of Oman or the Indian Ocean. I don't know if it's the same place. But so that's the mid-February, right? So this isn't like going away. This is like getting like spicy. We have fucking Starmer. What a dick. Saying like over 65-year-olds can be like conscripted. Yeah, I'd like to see him fucking try and conscript me. Oh, no way. I will go to prison for conscientiously objecting. All of the fucking jihadis in prison, though, they can all go back to their country and fight us, right? That's what we should do. So what I wanted to know, right? So we have been seeing, this is how we've been watching what Trump's been doing, right? So I said so we had the whole Nigeria stuff. I was like, this is like against Iran. This is kneecapping China, Russia, and Iran, and Venezuela, and Greenland, right? So all of these little pieces of the puzzle are dismantling the terrorist networks. So what we've had is the Iran nuclear strikes, June 2025. We had the Nigeria strikes, December 25. We had Venezuela operation. We also had strikes on the Houthi militants in Yemen, and the UAE has had to pull out of Yemen. There have been ISIS strikes in Iraq, Syria, and Somalia. Threats against Cuba, Mexico, cartels, like the cartels, all of that has been kneecapping Iran, China, and Russia, Colombia, Canada, and then obviously the Greenland stuff. Like all of those things. So I asked, has Iran's influence been weakened? Right. So what has Trump done that's specifically causing conflict in Iran, like going after Iran? It's really interesting though, because I mean, Qatar's the money, unless they're two factions. I mean, Iran is funneling money and jihadis too. So maybe the Qatari opposition leader is in the United Kingdom, and I watched him on Andrew Gold's podcast the other day, and I really quite liked him, to be fair. So has Iran's influence been weakened? So Iran's regional and global influence has been significantly eroded by Trump's actions, both directly, such as the nuclear strikes, and indirectly, so proxy disruptions and alliance strains. So here's the breakdown. So the nuclear program setback, the June 25 strikes destroyed key facilities, delaying Iran's path to a nuclear weapon by several years and reducing its leverage in negotiations. It forced Iran into a defensive posture, with Trump hinting at further action if processes suppressed violently. Internal unrest has further weakened the regime, with Khamenei warning of regional war, but showing fragility. There was also posts that I saw couple of weekends ago with IRG higher ups like leaving Iran and going to Moscow. There was a post going around with the IRG embassy, like people being escorted into a police car. But Grok says that's about the fact that, you know, the Iranian protesters got up and changed the flag on the embassy twice. So I don't, like, again, we don't actually know because people don't put context on stuff, and they take stuff and they rip it and they just make fake context. But so whether they were escaping to Moscow or not, I don't know. Proxy network diminished. So Iran's axis of resistance has suffered major blows. The fall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria in late 2024 removed a key ally, while Hezbollah has been largely neutralized, Hamas mostly destroyed in Gaza, and Yemen's Houthis marginalized as the central government strengthens. So post-20 US strikes in Yemen, Houthis, Syria, Iraq, which is ISIS militias, have indirectly targeted Iranian-backed groups, and the Nigeria strikes disrupted overlapping Islamist networks in Africa, where Iran has sought influence. And we kind of like dived into that, right? So economic and diplomatic isolation. The US sanctions and military pressure have strained Iran's economy amid protests. The Venezuelan operation expelled Iranian advisors, cutting a Latin American foothold. So broader US realignment, for example, Saudi Arabia, have isolated Tehran further. So that's kind of where the Board of Peace can come in, right? And the Abraham Accords. So overall, Iran's ability to protect power via proxies and deterrence has declined, making it more vulnerable to internal collapse or external pressures. So impacts on China and Russia and their alliance with Iran. So the Iran-China, sorry, Toes always goes itchy. And I'm talking. The Iran-China-Russia axis formulated in January 29, pact focus on economic intelligence and being weakened as Trump's moves expose their inability to actually protect mutual interests or counter US unilateralism effectively. And that's because I was like, well, we talk about this tripartite, but actually, I was saying like Russia's on the board of peace. So how is that working out? So China, the Venezuelan raid disrupted Beijing's major oil supply and Latin American investments. Bearing in mind, we're not allowed to drill in North Sea oil. Starmer's just been to China. I wonder how relaxed our North Sea oil drilling's just about to come, right? And we don't have lots of oil, although they randomly just discovered like fucking loads of it. Also remember they randomly discovered fucking loads of lithium down south in the UK that they didn't know anything about, right? It's because China's not going to need that, are they? So with US demands to remove Chinese advisors, signaling a Monroe Doctrine 2.0 to exclude non-hemispheric competitors. So China condemned the action as hegemonic, but offered no material support, highlighting limits to its global reach amid Taiwan priorities. Potential Iran strikes would further test Beijing's ability to shield allies. Russia, Moscow's response to Venezuela was muted, prioritizing Ukraine over defending Maduro despite arms sales and ties. This reflects overextension. So Russia's global investments, for example, Syria, Iran, Sahel, are faltering with Assad's fall and weakened Iranian proxies, compounding losses. So Trump has exploited this by offering Ukraine concessions to Putin, pulling Russia into US-led frameworks like the Border Peace. The Trilateral Pact aims to counter the West, but US actions over Venezuela, Iran strikes reveal its limitations. No mutual defense triggered, and members couldn't prevent ally losses. Analysts note this erodes the rules-based order, but has left the trio more isolated and reactive. So basically, vastly weakened, and he's done it really fucking quickly. Like, in like 8 months. It just shows you what happens when people fucking do what they're supposed to be doing. So one of the things that surprised me was that Assad falling weakened Iran. And remember, he went to Moscow, right? He went and got sanctuary in Russia. And I'm not saying he was a good guy, right? But it's just because the guy they've got in there now is like ex-Al-Qaeda, right? And there have been loads and loads of reports of Kurds being massacred by ISIS and the prison breaks and all of the media. And so I don't know why I fucking trusted the media. All of the media kind of, pushing that, Trump, and this is like independent citizen journalists pushing, Trump is besties with a terrorist, and they're now enacting a campaign of genocide against the Kurds. So Trump has legitimized like a terrorist regime, right? And so I kind of like pushed back and I was like, well, wait a minute. How is that? How is that beneficial when they now like have like ISIS fucking running rampant, right? And remember, ISIS fighters are on the street in Iran. Khamenei kind of pulled them in, right, from Afghanistan and Syria. So the Syrian, this is really interesting. So I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong, because this surprised me. The Syrian transitional government under President Ahmed al-Shara has been directly involved in a... Oh, no, this is the other bit. Okay, because I asked it. Oh, wait. So, oh, yeah, because he got the dates wrong. So the fall of Bashar al-Assad, December 2024, when HTS, which is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, led rebels rapidly overthrew his regime in a blitz offensive, capturing key cities like Aleppo and Damascus, forcing Assad to flee to Russia. 1 year on, so 2025-2026, Syria is under a transitional government led by President Ahmed al-Shara, formerly known as Abu Mohammed al-Julani, HTS leader, who's formed a cabinet with some diverse representation, including minorities, and held limited parliamentary elections in October 2025. HTS dissolved as a separate entity, integrating into state institutions. And the government is working on a 5-year transition towards a new constitution, and full elections. So contrary to the idea of full ISIS in control, ISIS, also known as Daesh or Islamic State, does not hold overall power in Syria. Now, I didn't kind of mean that, but it's fine. The group has exploited the post-Assad chaos to stage a resurgence, particularly in central desert areas of SDF, so Syrian Democratic Forces, held in northeastern regions, where it's conducted attacks at hidden resources like weapons caches from Assad's forces and attempted prison breaks from facilities holding thousands of ISIS detainees. However, ISIS attacks have declined by about 50%, from 692 to 348 incidents from 2024 to 2025. So I was like, wait a minute, because the reports are showing that they're happening all the time, right? So they're actually happening 50% less under the new leader, with fatalities dropping 76%, from 756 to 183. Notably, 90% of the 2025 ISIS attacks occurred in Kurdish or SDF controlled areas, right? So what we're seeing is the vast majority of Syria is being stabilized, and where the attacks are happening, they're happening vast majority, 90%, specifically at the Kurds. Now, if you kind of like pay attention to the media, it looks like Syria's flipped and everybody's attacking the Kurds, and that's not what's going on statistically, right? Or demographically, kind of like geopolitically, demographically. I don't know. Where tensions over Arab majority territories created vulnerabilities. The Kurds kind of moved into these areas when Assad fell, right? So it's not that ISIS is being completely directed by the new Syrian government and being sent to these areas. Like these clashes are happening since Assad fell, right? You know, like, because the Kurds don't have anywhere to go, right? So I'm not saying they're the bad guys. I'm just saying that we are getting a warped perspective from what we're being shown. Also, again, this was like me going, what the fuck? The new Syrian government has joined the US-led global coalition to defeat ISIS as its 90th member in November 2025, enabling closer intelligence sharing and operations that foiled at least 11 major ISIS plots and killed 3 senior leaders in 2025. I did not know the Syrian president and the government was helping with those. And I read like a lot of stuff, and I get lots of like kind of like news blasts. Did you know that the Syrian government has been involved in fucking pulling ISIS down and helped stop at least 11 major ISIS attacks? And because of this, so this is why the Kurds feel abandoned, right? So because of this intelligence sharing, because of the new Syrian government actually joining the coalition to defeat ISIS. And remember, the entire narrative when whatever his name is, Abu Mohammed al-Julani, previous name, Ahmed al-Sharaa, came to America, the entire narrative was Trump appeases jihadis. Not the fact that the government is turned its back on its jihadi roots, has joined the coalition to defeat ISIS, and then no kind of extra information about this is what they've already done to help, and this is what they're gonna do to help. And I fucking looked into that conversation. I looked into it all. I was like, why is he bringing a terrorist over? Why was he in fucking number 10? Why are we loving them this fucking terrorist? That this information didn't crop up. So that was fucking annoying. So the US has pivoted support from the SDF, which was the Syrian Democratic Forces, its former anti-ISIS partner, to al-Shara's government, drawing troops from 2,000 to under 1,000, and facilitating the central government's takeover of key areas like Deir al-Zor, Deir al-Zor, Raqqa, and parts of Haska. This includes assuming control of ISIS detention centers, reducing the risk of mass breakouts. What's been all over the fucking internet is more ISIS terrorists are being released from Syrian prisons. Like, the literal reverse is true, like, statistically. And it doesn't help Iran, because Assad was Iran's closest regional ally, providing a land bridge for arms to Hezbollah in Lebanon and a bulwark against Sunni extremists. His fall severed that direct link, shifted Syria towards a Sunni Islamist-leaning government that's pivoting westward, joining the anti-ISIS coalition, seeking Gulf Arab investment, and cooperating with the US and NATO allies like Turkey and Jordan. I mean, Turkey... But Jordan's been pretty good ally. Turkey, not so fucking much. But, you know, while ISIS's limited resurgence creates instability that Iran could theoretically exploit, such as backing anti-ISIS Shiite militias or portraying itself as a stabilizer, the overall trend weakens Tehran's axis of resistance. The new government is actively hunting ISIS elements, reducing power vacuums, and Iran's proxies like Hezbollah are already diminished elsewhere. Sectarian violence, so massacres of Alawites in March 2025, has heightened tensions, but al-Shara's regime has considered control, not ceding to ISIS, further isolating Iran regionally. Right? And I pushed back a little bit, and I was like, okay, well, they're actively massacring Kurds. And I was like, okay, so is this happening outside of the government, or are the government kind of doing it and pretending that they're not doing it, right? Because it's still happening, right? 90% of all the attacks, remember, 90% of all the ISIS attacks are happening against Kurds. So it is going on. So he's like, it's not kind of hidden, because they have been directly involved in the military offensive against the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces in the northeast since January 2026, due to the breakdown of negotiations over SDF integration into national structures. So the government wanted to kind of bring everybody together, and the Syrian Democratic Forces, so Kurdish-led, were like, no. It is a state-led campaign by the Syrian army and affiliated forces to reclaim control over 25% of Syrian territory, which is the resource-rich northeast, including the oil fields, which the SDF held post-Assad. So the SDF was working with the USA, and they were getting rid of ISIS, and then Assad fell, and they took control of this area of Syria, which is where the resources are, including the oil fields. Syrian government was like, let's all be mates. Like, we got rid of the bad dude, like the really bad dude. Let's all be besties, and maybe we can just, you know, start... You know, we're just gonna like besties with like daggers across the room, and eventually we'll have conversations. And SDF said no. And so then the Syrian government went, meh, you're gonna fucking have it. I'm not saying, I'm not kind of like backing either side, by the way. I'm just kind of like let's get some context with what's going on. So the government has framed it necessary for national security and unity, designating Kurdish areas in Aleppo as closed military zones, pushing for disarmament and centralized control while rejecting SDF demands for autonomy or decentralization. So basically, the SDF, because we have to remember the Kurds have got nowhere to go, right? They have been like genocided to fuck by Turkey. And so the Kurds saw an opportunity to go somewhere to kind of like get in, and they have been fighting ISIS for a very fucking long time, and they do keep getting turned on by the West. Like, we use them, abuse them, and then I'll turn our backs on them. So I do feel very bad for the Kurds, like, genuinely. And you know, if you've been like systematically genocided, would you trust that they wanted to be besties? Like, you've got to see it from like kind of all points of view. However, the offensive has involved affiliated militias and factions, so Sunni Arab tribes, former rebel groups integrated into the army, and even Turkish-backed Syrian. Funnily enough, Turks are doing it, killing the fucking Kurds. Which have at times operated with a degree of autonomy or escalation beyond strict government oversight, similar to patterns in 2025 massacres against the Alawites in March and the Druze in July. So in those cases, the government deployed forces to restore order, but was accused of enabling or failing to prevent sectarian revenge killings, with death tolls ranging from 1,000 to 5,000 per incident. So critics, and this is where you've got to get your squinty eye on it, including UN experts, so the blue helmet peacekeepers who are raping and pillaging across the entire world, Amnesty International, who was quiet for days about the Iran protests, and Kurdish groups. So argue the government bears responsibility as these factions are often under its chain of command or receive tacit approval to operate, even if Damascus later pulls back or negotiates ceasefires to de-escalate. So this creates a dynamic where the government can claim plausible deniability for excess while advancing territorial goals. So the UN and Amnesty International, who have been backing the Iranian regime in Iran, are backing the Kurds in Syria, who are fighting ISIS, Iranian regime, like aligned forces, not backing the fucking protesters. Like, it's, I just, in like 200 years, kids are going to be like at school being like, what the fuck? The world's just full of hypocrites. Like what? How can you have like either you think ISIS are bad or you think they're good? Like, you can't think they're not bad against one group of people but good against the other group of people. That's just retarded. Like, it just, all of it is utterly bonkers. And it's so bonkers. Let me see if I can find a thing that I think you'll all get a kick out of. Find the thing. Should be. Can I search my channel specifically? Yeah. He's got a point. Oh. When did I post it? Can you not do that like that? Oh, this is silly. I think this will kind of just drive home the whole fucking retarded nature of it. My mouse has gone. I need to stop tweeting so much. It's so hard to find stuff. Where is it? Come on. It's just so weird. Like, just fucking pick a like. Yeah, here we go. So Grok said this didn't happen, but the pro-Palestinian mob just decided let me show you what I'm looking at so you can be entertained while we go through my giant fucking Twitter X. I just don't like that. It just sounds stupid. Say it clear, say it loud. Calamini makes us proud, right? This is like literally going on in the UK, like fucking waving Palestinian flags, got jihadi shit on them, and that's okay because this is England and you're allowed to do that shit, right? Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, Labour are pushing through that assisted dying bill. They're going to pack the Lords. Oh, Starmer, yeah. Fifth runt boy has been found with regards to Starmer's fucking firebombing in his house. Nope. Where's it gone? 30th. Well, that'd be really sad if it's deleted. So there's a cartoon AI conversation about with Trump and this is sad. With Trump and an ABC reporter talking about Greenland. Yeah, I think it's gone. It wouldn't be that far back. Just fast. And so basically they're saying, you know, Greenland's for the Greenlanders, and Trump's like, okay, that's cool. It's definitely this gone from my tweeting. That's a bit silly. I had those people like it. Anyway, I can't. Sorry, guys. So Trump sat across from a reporter and they're like, Greenland's for the Greenlandiers. And he's like, okay, so is America for the Americans? And then, you know, Africa is obviously for the Africans. And she's like, yeah. And England's for the English. No. So like this, that perfectly summarizes the hypocrisy, right? It's okay for this, but not okay for the exact same thing for this group of people. It's okay to support fucking, you know, like, and they did it with Venezuela and Maduro, right? Like dictatorship, killing people, 25 years, tyrannical regime, angry because Trump intervened without the people who are like obsessed with freedom and supporting people and looking after people literally get upset when Trump does that because Trump's the one who does it. It's just insane. So it was very interesting to find out that the new Syrian government is actually like trying to destroy ISIS from inside. Because I did not know that. So with the Board of Priests, the UK said no. Because so did like the vast majority of Europe. I think it's only Hungary that have kind of like gone in. And it's so funny because the entire narrative is like, if people just spend $1 billion, then they're involved. Oh my God, it's so disgusting. All right, what do you think the fucking WEF is, you retards? What do you think the UN is, you fucking back-boobed degenerates? Like, it's literally created the Board of Peace. The UN now is about to go fucking bankrupt because they got no fucking money because Trump went, no, I'm not funding you anymore. I'm going to create my own thing over here where I'm like the permanent chair, just outside of his presidency. So he's the permanent chair of the Board of Peace. the UK said no. The EU pretty much, members of the EU said no, they don't want to be part of it. So instead, the EU is reviving its EU SWIFT thingy, which obviously Starmer is saying, oh, we have to be more aligned with the EU, with our military. Like, what fucking military? Considering you spent decades of your life persecuting veterans pro bono, just for shits and giggles, you thought it'd be fun to do it. Who the fuck's going to fight for him? No one. I like it. You will have that's probably the fastest way to get the right off the streets is by conscripting everyone as we'll go, no, I'm fucking doing it. I will go and have my free meal in prison. Thanks. I get my 3 meals a day, roof over my head, lounging around, playing fucking snooker and whatever other games they play. I'm all right, mate. All the people who had a Palestinian flag, a Ukrainian flag, all the people who have been pushing and pushing and pushing for all of these wars, they're the people who should go and fight. In my opinion. Maybe that'd start people fucking paying attention to the shit that's going on. So it's been quite a swift little show to this week because I was digging in Epstein. But there's so much going on, It's so difficult to kind of like go, what are we going to talk about? But actually, I think the whole Iran, we got to watch what's going on with Iran, Russia, and China. That's all. Looking a bit dicey, but maybe the border peace will hold, right? Because Trump did. Trump did go and bomb Iran, and China and Russia didn't do anything. Right? Remember, China came out and they were like, "Oh, you probably shouldn't have done that." And then he invaded Venezuela, and they said, "Well, we're going to get our lawyers on it." So it's strange. Can't work all this shit out. So, as we always do, we're going to finish on a high. So, this is the illusion of choice, how modern life subtly dictates our freedom. So, modern life presents an expansive menu of choices, yet we'll dissect how this perceived freedom often masks subtle systematic dictation. We'll unmask the invisible forces shaping our decisions, from algorithmic nudges to societal constructs, revealing the true architects of our seemingly independent lives. They make me sound really fucking clever when I say, I want to talk about this thing. Like, that's not my words, but it sounds cool. But basically, you think that you are living the free life, right? You think you're making choices. You think you are acting from a place of intelligence, of analytical, logical thinking, right? We all think that, and I do think that myself too, and it may not necessarily be true, right? There is so much choice. There is so many things that we have to decide on a daily basis. There is no way we are making those decisions ourselves, right? So one of the little tricks that so one of the sales and marketing things is that sorry, I'm just checking on Kamikaze Taught. So when you're trying to get somebody to buy something, only 1% to 3% will buy the first kind of conversation, right? First touch. The vast majority of people will buy after the 7th interaction, and there's a whole lot more who will kind of like wait months before they kind of take any action. It completely depends on where people are in their buying cycle, right? Now, if you imagine you're just kind of thinking about one thing, right? And maybe you do a little bit of internet sleuthing, right? And you're like, oh, I'm kind of thinking of upgrading XYZ, and you're having a little look. Then what's going to happen is over the next few days, weeks, months, you're going to start like seeing like whichever is the good marketer, they're going to be retargeting the shit out of you. Like wherever you are on the internet, they're going to be cropping up. You're going to see like maybe good ads, maybe shit ads, ads that you don't even realize are ads. And then when it's time to come and buy, you're buying the one that you've seen the most. And if you've seen it the most, you trust it the most, right? I mean, obviously, if you've read a review and you're like, this is like dog shit, it doesn't quite work. But repetition is the thing that gets us feeling trustworthy, right? And trust is the biggest bridge to buying anything. So why does it matter for like where we are in the state of the world that we're in? If you pay attention to a certain individual, right? And then you have other organizations or people who want your business, they will target you because you listen to that one person, right? So if I was going to, I don't know, if I was going to do a big like entrepreneur conference, I'm definitely not. I'm just trying to give you examples. If I was going to do like a big entrepreneur conference, I would put my adverts, I would advertise my stuff to people who like big entrepreneurs, right? So I could, target people like Russell Brunson, who I freaking love. But I'm pretty concerned that he might be a bad person because he's a Mormon and he went to Tony Robbins' island. So that's not looking good. But we'll see. I don't know. He has taught people how to make lots of money and step away from the bullshit. And quite a few people around him are quite vocal in support of Trump and stuff. Like quite a few of his close. Sorry, I don't know. And he kind of went to the island, and then like pre-going, he was like bigging up Tony Robbins, like just like always talking about him. And then since going, he kind of like never really discussed it. Like there was pictures of him going to the island, and he was like, "Oh my god, I'm there! It's so exciting!" And then it's like it never happened. So I was just like, "Oh." I mean, we all know Tony Robbins is a fucking MK Ultra programmer, right? So I was like, "Oh." That's a bit unfortunate. So outside of that, but so I would still advertise, right? And I'd advertise to Tony Robbins's audience, right? I'd advertise to if I was going to do a big women empowerment event, I would advertise to Oprah's audience. I mean, obviously I wouldn't, because the people who like Oprah are definitely not my people. But hopefully that helps you kind of recognize that you won't even know that you are being subtly influenced, right? And influencers on TikTok, right? What are they wearing? What are they talking about? Who are they being paid by? And we did that show where I do with the woman with the fucking eyebrows, the unibrow caterpillar girl, sitting in her car talking about geopolitics, and it was obvious she was getting a few grand from Israel from what she was saying, because she had no fucking clue. But we are so overwhelmed in our real world lives that pretty much all of the other decisions are being decided for us without us even realizing, right? Is there a particular brand of ice cream that you buy just because you went in and I'll try this one, but perhaps you had random subliminal messages? Like every time I used to watch Midsummer Murders, they drink a lot. Every time I watched it, I was like, I really want a glass of red wine. Right? I didn't. But because I was watching them do it, I was thinking, I enjoy wine. I would quite enjoy a glass of wine. Right? So even just like subtle things like that, right? We try our best to be independent and have free thought, and we are being manipulated left, right, and center. right? So the voices of reason, the voices of dissent are not easy to find. Like, don't get me wrong, like some people manage to kind of, they go long enough, they get the underground following, but they're not the people you're just randomly like, you know, they're not the people who are just getting thrown up by people, right? You're not like you're on social media and everyone's like, oh, okay, you know, this person, right? So I always said the easiest way to tell who's controlled is by who rose to fame during COVID. Right, so in the UK we have the fucking who was he? The funeral director, who also had done lots of stuff for the BBC beforehand, like that guy, who all of a sudden became like he's a COVID hero. Leilani Dowling has been very interesting because she was all Trump, then she was no Trump. And I was like, well, this is very strange. And now she's been promoting this guy called Mappin, who, you know, she's like, oh my God, everyone's got to read a book. I love her book. And there's images of her reading the book. He was now named in the Epstein files, like really closely linked. And she was all over social media saying how much she loved this guy. He's like really good mates. I won't be voting for either Reform or Advance UK. I will either be standing as an independent, or if there is another independent who's standing who is a good person, I would throw my weight behind them. I don't believe in political parties at all. Definitely would not be voting for Reform anyway, like at all. And I said that way back when they started kind of appearing on the scene like properly. Like it was so obvious that that's a fucking psyop. I am not a Labour voter in any way, shape or form. No. No. But I don't vote for fucking establishment parties either. So no. And I won't do it just because everybody says, but Reform is the only way out of this mess. They're not the only way out of this mess, because it's the same fucking people. Reform have literally just taken all of the Conservative Party, like fucking Sajid Javid and fucking the vaccine minister and Suella Braverman, who all put the fucking things in place to put us in the shit we're in right now. Like, the fuck? They've also just stood a fucking Muslim who's lying about her CPS history as the mayor in London, right? She's telling everyone she did terrorism cases and high profile cases, and she never did. Like, and that's easy. Everybody's obsessed with the fact that she's got this fucking tattoo. Everybody's obsessed with the fact that her mum had a fucking B&B. Why isn't anybody talking about the actual factual evidence that she's fucking lied on her resume, was not involved in the case with the guy who drove into the fucking Buckingham Palace gates, was not involved in any high profile terrorism cases, has not been a CPS prosecutor for Crown offences. She's only ever done magistrates court. She was getting thrown out of the fucking Conservative Party because she was wanted to stand for election as Rotherham mayor, and they said no because she was a fucking flake, never turned up for any of the meetings, never attended. They were trying to throw her out because she was fucking useless, and she decided to jump ship where she got promoted. So I would not vote for a party. I don't vote for any parties after fucking getting in bed with the Tory party in 2015, 2016, 2017. And 2018, I was parish councillor for the Conservative Party. So it's why I don't believe in parties. Like, I've fucking been in the swamp. But I would not vote for a party that's fucking done all that shit against the party members' wishes. And anybody who fucking puts Nigel Farage at the head, fucking Richard Tice's besties with David Cameron, come the fuck on. Like, it's just beyond. And the retards who cannot see it and are still saying, well, we have to vote for Reform because they're the only hope. No, you are the hope. You need to stand. You need to go and stand in your own fucking council seat, independent of all of the fucking parties. Because if you go against the party grain, you can't stand. You can't turn up for meetings. You won't be allowed to speak. Right? That's what happens. So I stood as an independent in our local election in 2023 against the parties. And I did well. I didn't get in, but I did well, and I scared the shit out of them. But I have been anti-party for 8 years. I'm not a hypocrite. So I won't go stand with a party just to get in power, because I'm not in it for the power, I'm in it for the people. And so if I'm in a party, then I'm in it for the party and not the people. So I won't do it. So I won't vote for either of them. I will stand instead, or vote for somebody who's standing who is not, like, you know, a Labour independent in disguise, which is what kind of happens in Telford quite a bit. I mean, good luck in Spain, because they've just given asylum to 500, 600,000 migrants, and isn't your kind of person in charge obsessed with replacing people? But yeah, that was my little reform rant. But Farage is fucking establishment. Like, Tice is, I can't. And even Rupert Lowe, oh my God, even Rupert Lowe, people are so stupid. You do not get to be a position in plow. You do not get to be in a position of power unless you are blackmailable. Like, you're just not allowed on the fucking ballot box. Like, if you are a good person, and I know Rupert Lowe is independent now, but he wasn't. He was a member of a party. You do not want people who are independent or independent of thought, who are I mean, they all play a fucking game, right? The party will let them kind of say stuff. They will let them kind of do their thing. But as soon as you step out of line, you get the whip removed. You get suspended. But people want the power, so they don't do that. Right? Or they kind of send the, send the establishment press after you and just give them the dirt, right? You don't control the narrative without controlling the entire narrative. So, okay, Savage Guru, we'll look into that. That literally just happened. Really bad. 500,000 Spanish asylum. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know whether, have you got a female leader? 5 days ago, 500,000 undocumented migrants left. Yeah. Your Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, has championed amnesty as a way to not only give informal workers legal protections, but also to bring more money into a social security system increasingly under stress by the country's aging population. But she's literally on stage saying, of course, she wants to fucking replace all of the sponging white and like Spanish people with the kid. Like, yeah. I mean, at least Starmer's still a bit fucking covert. Sorry, Butte. Good luck. Everywhere's fucked, right? But it doesn't mean, it's not saying that you can't turn it around. It doesn't mean there won't be pushback. It doesn't mean it's happened yet. Yeah. Spain's too hot for me. I'm a winter baby. I don't like it when it goes above 21 degrees. Like, that's, I'm like, nope. It's too hot. Too hot. Okay, so I've got 5 practical tips for you to help you maintain your inner sovereignty. First step, practice intentional pauses. So before you take action, right? So whether you're buying something, whether you're following something, whether you're listening to somebody, deciding to vote, or you know who you're deciding to vote for, take a breath, right? Ask yourself, would I have looked for this on my own without the nudges? Like, is this, or is this person, is this thing, is it, one, what I need? 2, is it something that I would have invested in? So invest time or money if it wasn't kind of fucking chasing me around the internet. So I am grateful for the algorithms, right? Because I mentioned before, I train my Instagram algorithm it actually shows me lots of like cooking stuff, and it also shows me lots of funny stuff. I get other stuff randomly because you follow other people in other places, right? So I get other stuff randomly, but the vast majority of Instagram is like food, gardening, and like very pedestrian, right? Because if I want to feel good, I will go to Instagram. YouTube is pretty random because I watch all the documentaries on there. So that's how I found, Julian Dorey. Never heard of him before. Found him because the algorithms, like, these are the stuff you're listening to, right? And then because I watched the John Kiriakou of Julian Dorey, I like got anyone else who had John Kiriakou on, right? So the algorithm helps with that. So they can be good, right? They can be helpful, but then you have to decide, do I need to follow through, right? So what I mean by that is, if we just go back to John Kiriakou, right? I really enjoy, I think he's slowly starting to realize lots of stuff. He's still quite naive about some stuff from some of the conversations, but that's fine. We all have our own kind of waking up journey. Like, he kind of went to prison for telling everyone about the fucking torture regime. So he's got my respect. Even if we don't kind of align on like a few, like that's not the point of kind of respect, is it? It's not like I'm not a sycophant. And even with Trump, right? I like the stuff that he's done. I can see what he's doing, but I do think sometimes not too sure about that, mate. But anyway, there was lots of other. They just talking about Kiriakou. There's lots of other podcasts like going, oh, and he did this one, talking about this. He did, and so was I going to invest my time just chasing John Kiriakou around the internet, or am I going to go, okay, well, I've got I've enjoyed those. I've got a bit from those. I've learned some stuff that I didn't kind of realize that was going on. So am I going to watch these other ones, or am I going to actually search for something that I am interested in and find more about it? So it doesn't always have to be buying stuff, right? So you have to decide, when are you investing time or money because it's ease, right? Path of least resistance. You were looking into this thing, and then the algorithms are just going to keep churning that same thing out, right? Whether you need it or not. So take a deep breath and say no. Twitch kicking YouTuber woke, no free speech. I like Rumble. Yeah, I mean, Rumble's a bit annoying. It doesn't always work when I'm playing with it. I mean, I don't. I'll show up wherever and get removed from wherever and show up wherever's left. So it's kind of all I've done. Okay, number 2, curate deliberate, unassisted decisions. So pick 1 or 2 choices each day to make it completely offline or without input. So no reviews, no algorithms, no social proof, right? Choose a book from a physical shelf, a meal without scanning ratings, a walk route on a whim. Like, these small acts of digital mindfulness train your brain to rely on internal signals, again, countering the atrophy that comes from constant outsourcing. So many people I know won't be able to choose a book from a bookcase. I've got 3 bookcases, 4 bookcases. I love actual books. So do something without checking first, right? That's the thing. And it's not just digital checking. Like, I would urge you to do something without checking from somebody else, right? Whether it's friends, family, just pick something. Like, maybe there's something you've always wanted to try and you've kind of never been sure. Just do it. Give it a go. See what happens. Take back control. And if you don't like it, you don't have to tell anyone you did it, right? If you were shit at it, you don't have to tell anyone you did it, right? Which is next time they say, oh, did you ever? And you'll be like, oh, yeah, I tried it. It wasn't really my thing. You don't have to go, yeah, I was fucking shite at it. I mean, I probably would, because I just don't care. I don't care. I accept that I'm not like perfect. I accept that there's lots of things I'm really shit at. And I think it's good to share that. However, I did make a fucking awesome toad in the hole today for dinner. Like, my Yorkshire pudding, the hole, I'm guessing the toads are the toads the sausages? I don't know. Like I did it in a cast iron pot because I did see, like, on our YouTube, right? No, on Instagram, the dude, like, reviving British traditional food, used a cast iron skillet, and I was like, oh, I've never tried it in a cast iron skillet before. I've tried it in my other dishes. It never really works, so I put it in my cast iron, like, dumpy wide, because I've got like a skinny tall casserole dish. Like, they're the fat, like, smaller one. And then, like, it was fucking coming over, like, I was like, whoa, it's like this big fat Yorkshire pudding. I will do. I'll have a nosy. Thanks. So I made a decision. I'd already decided I was gonna do toad in the hole. I did make a decision about the dish, right? So that was a useful decision, but you don't always have to. Make some unassisted decisions. Number 3, diversify your inputs aggressively, right? Fight filter bubbles by actively seeking opposing or random perspectives. I really urge this. Follow accounts that challenge your views, subscribe to newsletters from different ideological lanes, or even set a serendipity day where you explore topics you'd normally skip. The goal isn't to agree, it's to keep your mental map wide and unpredictable, preserving the space for original thoughts, right? I really, really do advise this. So every time I'm out shopping and I see a Big Issue seller, right? And for those of you who are not in the UK, Big Issue is a lefty fucking propaganda machine of a magazine that they make homeless people sell for a bit of money, and that enables them to buy food or shelter, right? And I've always supported Big Issue because I'm like, that person, at least they're fucking, like, trying their best to earn a living. And I always read it because I want to know what the other side are fucking, like, insanely thinking. But also today, I watched an interview with the lead, I was maybe investigator, who was on the Ian. It's not Ian Irving. The guy who wrote the books about Hitler's war, Churchill's war, who's kind of started the reversionist history about Hitler being a good guy. Now, I do think Irving has some very good bits of information in there, i.e. the whole, the memo from Kew Gardens, the memo which is housed in Kew Gardens National Archives, literally stating, what the fuck are we going to do in like 10 years from now when people don't believe the whole Auschwitz, they kind of like gas chamber shit, right? That's the whole like MI6, MI5 internal memo. So it's not to say that all of the Irving stuff is wrong. And even the kind of lead investigator in the court case even said that. He said, look, we just investigated these like key main points, and he ended up with 700 pages of, you said this, you made this claim, and you said that this was the piece of information that backs this claim up. And actually, you've twisted this, because the reality, so they actually went to source, like found, like, I mean, it took them 18 months, right, for this court case. And he was the one, Irving was the one who actually was suing the woman who called him a Holocaust denier. So he was suing her for libel. So nobody was stopping his free speech. Like, he'd been like chatting like about this shit for like 30 years, but he decided to sue. And so they then were like, well, that's fine. We know some of the shit that you said is like inaccurate. And so then what they found out was he would change dates. He mistranslated things to push a narrative, purposely took quotes, skipping really important parts. Like, and when you're doing like essays and stuff, we all do that, right? This isn't just what he does. They all do that. I do that, right? Because you only want the bit that they want. So that's what like the three little dots are for, right? To say there's something else here. But I'm kind of giving you this bit here, because you can't just replicate an entire book. So everybody does that. That wasn't unique. But changing dates, changing context, is a bit fucking dodgy. So anyway, I was like, I kind of like the stuff that Irving had put out, other than the Hitler was a good guy shit, because I was like, I don't know what you're fucking on there, mate, but that's fine. That's fine. Everybody's got their own opinion. And I was like, right, I'm going to watch the interview with the guy who was like the opposition. And obviously I found some very interesting stuff out about some of the ways that Irving was kind of presenting his material. And I said to, like, there's somebody I kind of chat to, and I'd said a while back that some of the stuff Irving is saying was a bit odd, that doesn't really ring true with, like, you know, facts as we know them, which is fine, because they lie. Who lies? They all lie. But he was doing really well 50s and 60s, right? And it was kind of came out and everybody started to respect him. Random internet blips, weird. So he hit the 80s and then he went fucking odd. So was he like him and then now he's controlled him? Because it's like, it's a useful narrative, right? So, but I do recommend, like, definitely go and watch and listen to this. I mean, every time I go to see my family, I get to see what craziness the other side think. And I just sit there going, oh yeah, I can't wait until you find out that I was right about everything, you fucking retards. I'm gonna have like, and I told you so party. I am. But don't shy away from seeing and witnessing and being immersed in opposing views, because it's not, and it really isn't about completely changing your point of view, right? It's not about saying, you know, you have to start believing the other side, but you will probably learn something that your side, if you like, isn't telling you. Like, if my X feed is full of both left and right. Like, I have fucking, who is it? The Canary. Like, I follow the Canary, which is super left. And yes, they do lots of digging on the conservatives, but they also do digging on the left, right? Because they are like super left. So they don't like Starmer and stuff, right? And they go into stuff that the right aren't talking about. So you like, everybody hates everybody. So if you're only like paying attention to the people who align with your views, you'll never expand your knowledge, and then you'll never be able to spot when you are being led down a specific narrative on whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be politics, right? It can be on health, it can be on parenting, right? Anybody who follows the positive parenting with regards to, you know, the hands-off parenting, that should never have, any psychologist worth their salt was telling you that was all bullshit. But obviously we were villainized. demonized as evil psychologists saying that you should tell your children what they should do. You should be training your children to be happy, healthy adults. Like the absolute awfulness of me even attempting to say shit like that kind of got me. I did compare teachers to SS soldiers and Nazis live on BBC Radio back in 2016. So that was fun. They teach people, like, they propaganda machines, right? So I've been talking about this shit for a long time, and not always in the same way, right? It was 2015, 2016. And it was like silence from the other end. It was just like, that's and very, very lefty radio DJ ended up agreeing with me. Right? Well, I suppose when you kind of put it like that, it's like, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That they don't teach critical thinking anymore, and they just teach to a test and use brainwashing style tactics and teach by rote. Literally said the last time we did that, we ended up with Nazi Germany and loads of Jews killed. So I'm not sure that's a good idea, right? And he was just like, oh, logic, right? So if we expose ourselves, so the other thing that was really fun is when there was Julian Assange hearing, and me and some other individuals all kind of was in the chat, right? And it was left, extreme left. And I was like, well, obviously political affiliation shouldn't have anything to do with the fact that there's somebody who is a journalist behind, like, in prison with no fucking conviction. Did they enjoy that? No, they kicked us out of the chat for trying to suggest that Julian Assange deserved the support from everybody. Like, they literally wanted to own him. Like, it was so weird. But number 4, limit decision bandwidth early. So protect your cognitive reserves by front-loading low-stakes routines like meal prep, caps, wardrobes, default playlists, or batching similar choices. For example, shopping for everything on the same day. I would never do that. Like, I do not enjoy shopping. If I had to do an entire day, it would be like 3 tubs of ice cream and a bottle of wine to recover. And I don't drink very much. I would eat three tubs of ice cream probably, though. And if you are an ice cream fan and live in the UK, I highly recommend Sainsbury's coffee ice cream. Oh, it's delicious. Really good. And they kind of sent, so this is how I discovered it, like influenced by other people. I got a voucher through for a free tub of ice cream from their entire luxury range. And I went to the supermarket 4 times in a row, and the only thing that was there was the coffee ice cream, like, each time. And I was like, fine, I'm going to have this one. Otherwise, the voucher is going to run out. And now it's my favorite. And I think me and probably everybody else in Telford ended, I don't know who managed to get there for the other ones. But now when you go, the only one that's really difficult to find is the coffee one. So I think everybody else must have tried like all of the other ones, and they didn't, like, obviously it didn't hit home. But all the people like me who went like not the day of the voucher and landed only with coffee now actually found an ice cream they really enjoy. But yes, I wouldn't suggest shopping all in one go. But, you know, meal prep, yeah, batch stuff where you can. Right? Do your washing all on one day, and then you've only got to fold. I don't iron unless I'm about to wear it, so I'm not doing that shit. You know, you've only got to fold once, technically. Fold and put away once until like 3 days later when you need to do all the washing again, right? But batch. And while you're batching the kind of low cognitive tasks, use it as an opportunity to aggressively diversify your inputs. But that's when I kind of just like, I'll let let the algorithm do its random thing on YouTube. Like what's going to join me on my cleaning trip today? Sometimes I enjoy it, sometimes I'm shouting at it. And number 5, reflect weekly on who chose this. This could be really hard sometimes, guys. So journal if you really want to. I mean, if you're having difficulties making decisions, right? If you don't trust your instincts, then I do recommend this. I kind of just do whatever the fuck I want. And when somebody keeps telling me to do something, I'm more likely to say no. So for a very long time, I've been practicing this, right? So, but if you are somebody who is struggling to make decisions, or you are easily influenced by other people's decisions, then I do recommend you kind of do a weekly reflection, right? And keep it like do just once a week, right? So just record the decision throughout the week, record the decisions, and then at the end of the week, just kind of go back and look, okay, was that my decision? Did I decide to do that? Or what was the potential outside influences? Did my mum something? Did my friends say something? Did I randomly have a conversation with my partner in the kitchen, then watch something on Amazon Prime and oh my god, there's the advert, which you can buy it now through, like, if you're watching Amazon Prime, you can literally like add the brand new Apple iPhone for £1,000 to your basket. No. But I keep fucking adding the washing up bullshit and dishwasher tablets because I keep trying to like cancel it off. And no, I have to daily. I am like canceling Amazon. I don't need any of this shit. Anyway, so sit down, have a look. Like, what was kind of you? What was outside influences? What was perhaps just random habit that you didn't realize, right? What are you doing that you now realize you don't need, didn't want, didn't ever decide to do, but are now kind of invested in? So for me, like if I gave in on Midsummer Murders days, so when I kind of realized that, I was just like, why do I always want a glass of wine? Midsummer Murders. When I realized it was because they were drinking all the time, I would like be consciously going, I'm going to have water. Nope, you're not making me drink, right? So figure it out. And it was really interesting talking about alcohol, right? So it's been a huge thing on British TV for a long time, like people drinking. And then you kind of like put that, like, say Friends, right? And a huge show that we kind of got from the USA. Like it was coffee. That doesn't really get very many people in the UK excited. They hardly ever drank. So, definitely back in my young days, like it must be really fucking boring in America because everybody just drinks coffee. At least we get pissed over here and enjoy ourselves. But again, like, who are you being influenced by? Right? Was it you? Was it friends? Was it family? Was it random internet? And start paying over time. You'll get this like bank of evidence, and then you'll start to see patterns in your own behavior. And also, like, big up and celebrate every time that you're the one who made the decision to do it. Over time, it will take a while, right? Because if you were doing something every single day, it takes at least 6 weeks for that to kind of rewire in your mind. If you're doing it once a week, and I genuinely urge you only doing it once a week. Don't like do it every single day. It's just like, life is for living, but this will help you get more in tune with you and more trustworthy and more able to make decisions from a place of you integrity first, rather than doing what everybody else kind of thinks and wants you to do. Over time, you will start to be able to resist, and you'll also start to be able to like make decisions on the fly that are truly your own. If you're in a relationship, expect things to get a bit rocky, because you'll probably start to notice that you do things to please the other person that you never even considered for an easy life. Like we do quite a lot of it for an easy life, that we don't think about. It's never made mine and Matt's relationship rocky because I don't do anything for anybody else. No, that sounds really bad. I do, but I don't do it if I don't want to. I choose to do things, and then I choose I'm not going to do it today. So no. But you know, we all, when we, and you know, if you are in a relationship, you should both do stuff. Like neither one of you should be like the one doing it all. Like, because that's like wrong. You're not a slave. They're not a slave either. So let's be nice to each other. Anyway, out of all of that rambling, it was basically to help you feel more confident differentiating between when you are being influenced to do something and when you are choosing to do something. And sometimes you'll be influenced to do something which is good for you, i.e. eating healthily, exercising, of which I've got myself a little under the desk elliptical like cycly thing. So that's been fun. I've been burning between 200 and 300 calories every single day for the last 5 days. Just been fun. So I can sit on my ass and still I stand up more than sit down and do it, because sitting down is really quite awkward to do because I've got a wiggly chair. Right, so I got a wiggly chair. And that was a complete decision on my own. Now, it was big during COVID, like loads of people in COVID when they worked home from home for the first time. They all kind of like bought all that shit. And I didn't need to because I had like 3 dogs. They were all quite mobile. And I was like, just get outside, right? Get out. Like, you're not going to die. But now, like the dogs barely walk, and I'm doing a lot more inside work, so now I kind of feel a bit guilty, but they could have just got outside right then. They weren't doing 14-hour days, that if they were, then it's fine. I'm with you. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me on today's rant. There's so much. It's all random. It's all contradictory. Is kind of how I'm going to finish today. I think the next few months are going to be really interesting. We'll have to see how things kind of play out. It's all up in the air. So thank you very much for joining me. I will have a nosy Savage Groove Club Live. I will get that link now before it disappears. Let's show everybody as well. There we go. dlive.tv Honey Club. What am I doing? There we go. I never go into DLive. I've got lemons. Like I went in the other day because my password had gone, and I had lemons, and I was like, I didn't know what that was, or how you get them, or what you do with them. So I actually need to understand DLive, I guess. So thank you very much for joining. Have yourselves an amazing Monday. I shall see you next Monday from 7, and we will attempt to see we're trying to see through what's being kind of spoken about, and enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you then. Lots of love.